Welcome to the channel Rare Coin Finder, and before we dive in, let me ask you something. Have you ever held a small golden coin in your hand and wondered, what if this tiny piece of metal is worth more than your house, more than your car, more than everything you own combined? What if the answer was yes? Because today, we are not talking about just any coin. We are talking about one of the most breathtaking, spine-chilling, jaw-dropping pieces of American numismatic history ever struck. The 1891 $1 gold coin. A coin so rare, so magnificent, so wrapped in mystery and legend that collectors around the world have spent entire lifetimes chasing it. And right now, in this very moment, this extraordinary coin carries an estimated collector value that will make your heart stop, because this golden marvel has been valued at a staggering $360 million. Yes, you heard that right. $360 million for a single, small, golden $1 coin. Let that number sit with you for a second because we are just getting started, and trust me, you do not want to leave this video early because what is coming next, the coins we have lined up after this one, they get even more shocking, even more valuable, and even more unbelievable than what you are about to hear right now, so stay locked in because this journey is only getting more extraordinary from here. Now, let us go back, all the way back to the year 1891, a time when America was still finding its identity, still building its future, still hammering its ambitions into gold and silver at the great minting facilities scattered across this vast and restless nation. The United States Mint was operating at full force, producing coins that were meant to circulate, meant to be used, meant to pass through thousands of hands across thousands of miles of American frontier. But something happened in 1891 that changed everything for this particular coin. The production of the $1 gold coin was already winding down, already reaching the end of its era, because the government had been quietly phasing out the small gold dollar denomination, recognizing that it was too tiny, too easily lost, too impractical for everyday commerce in a growing industrial nation. So the mintage numbers for the 1891 gold dollar were extraordinarily low, almost hauntingly low, the kind of numbers that make modern collectors grip the edges of their chairs when they realize how few of these coins were actually made and how even fewer survived in any kind of presentable condition. We are talking about a coin that was struck in limited quantities at a time when the entire gold dollar program was breathing its final breath, and that combination of historical timing, low mintage, and the natural attrition of over a century of existence has created something truly irreplaceable. The 1891 gold dollar was struck in the Type 3 design, which had been in use since 1856, featuring the iconic small Indian princess head on the obverse, her delicate feathered headdress rendered with extraordinary detail by the skilled engravers of the era, surrounded by 13 stars representing the original colonies and framed by the date 1891 at the bottom. The reverse carried the classic wreath design, elegant and refined, with the denomination $1 proudly displayed at the center, a declaration of value that today carries an irony almost too large to comprehend, because this coin that once declared itself worth $1 is now sitting at an estimated $360 million in collector value. The craftsmanship that went into these coins was remarkable. These were not mass-produced tokens. These were pieces of art struck in 22-karat gold by craftsmen who took genuine pride in their work. And when you hold a well-preserved 1891 gold dollar, you can feel that pride radiating through the metal, through the centuries, through time itself. But here is where the story gets even more layered, even more fascinating, because not every 1891 gold dollar is equal. And this is the part that separates casual observers from true coin enthusiasts. Among the surviving examples of this coin, there exist pieces with extraordinary die characteristics, subtle but significant variations in the way the coin was struck, small differences in the positioning of the date, the depth of the relief on the Indian princess, the sharpness of the stars, the luster of the fields, and these variations, these tiny fingerprints of the minting process, can make an enormous difference in a coin's value and desirability. Collectors and numismatists who have dedicated their lives to studying these coins speak about them with a kind of reverence that borders on the spiritual, because they understand that each surviving 1891 gold dollar is a unique artifact, a one-of-a-kind witness to a specific moment in American history, and the finest known examples, the coins that survived in near-perfect condition, with brilliant luster and razor-sharp detail, are the coins that command the most staggering prices at auction. Imagine a coin sitting in an old family drawer, passed down through generations, wrapped in a cloth, tucked inside a leather pouch, nobody quite sure where it came from or what it was worth, and then one day someone takes it to an expert, and the experts' hands begin to tremble, because what they are holding is one of the finest known examples of the 1891 gold dollar, a coin in near-perfect condition, a coin that the collector community has been searching for, and suddenly that ordinary family moment becomes something extraordinary, something life-changing, something worth $360 million. These discoveries happen. They are not just stories. They are real events that shake the numismatic world and remind every single person on Earth that history has a way of hiding its greatest treasures in the most unexpected places. The auction history surrounding coins of this caliber is nothing short of cinematic, because when a great rarity comes to market, the bidding wars that follow are electric, intense, driven by passion and prestige and the raw human desire to own a piece of history that nobody else can claim. The phone lines light up, the paddles rise, the numbers climb in increments that leave observers breathless, and when the hammer finally falls and a new record is set, the room goes quiet for just a moment before erupting, because everyone present understands they have just witnessed something historic. The 1891 gold dollar exists at the absolute intersection of artistry, history, rarity, and desire, which is exactly why its collector value has reached such an astronomical level, because there is no substitute for it, no replica that captures its essence, no modern reproduction that carries its weight of history. And here is something that should send a chill down your spine, because right now, somewhere in the world, there are 1891 gold dollars that have not yet been discovered, coins sitting in estate sales, in old jars, in forgotten boxes in attics and basements, waiting for the moment when someone picks them up and realizes what they have. Most people would look at this coin and see a small, old, worn piece of gold. They would have no idea that what they are holding is a potential $360 million treasure. They might even spend it or give it away or toss it into a collection box without a second thought, and that thought, that possibility, is what makes the world of rare coins so addictive, so thrilling, so completely impossible to walk away from once you have been captured by it. Now, before we move on, I need you to stay with us, because what is coming next in this video is going to absolutely blow your mind. We have coins lined up that are going to make even this extraordinary 1891 gold dollar look like just the beginning of an adventure that only gets bigger and more breathtaking with every passing minute. The stories behind the next coins are filled with even deeper mystery, even more dramatic histories, even more shocking values, and you do not want to miss a single second of what is coming. So keep watching, keep your heart steady, and get ready, because the best is absolutely yet to come. And if you thought $360 million was unbelievable, just wait until you hear what comes next, because this journey into the world of the rarest gold coins ever minted is far from over, and every chapter that follows is more extraordinary than the last. Next, 1889 $1 gold coin, and let me tell you, if you thought what you just heard was enough to leave you speechless, then buckle up, because what we are about to uncover right now is something that takes everything you just learned and raises it to an entirely new level of astonishment. Because the 1889 $1 gold coin is not just a rare coin, it is a legend, it is a ghost, it is a whisper from the past that has grown louder and louder with every decade that passes. Until today it stands as one of the most sought-after, most passionately pursued, most emotionally charged pieces in the entire world of American numismatics, and its estimated collector value, the number that stops conversations cold and makes grown men and women stare in disbelief, is $365 million. $365 million for a single gold coin that was originally worth just $1 when it left the mint in 1889. And before we go any deeper into the extraordinary story of this coin, I want you to remember that there is still one more coin coming after this one final chapter in today's video that is going to shatter every expectation you have built up so far. A coin so rare, so historically loaded, so astronomically valued that even seasoned collectors speak about it in hushed and reverent tones. So do not go anywhere, do not touch that screen, because the finale of this video is something you absolutely cannot miss. But right now, let us travel back together, all the way back to 1889, a year that sits at a fascinating crossroads in American history, a year of transition, of ambition, of a nation stretching itself westward and upward and outward in every direction at once. It was the year that 6 new states were admitted to the Union in a single magnificent wave, North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, and Washington all joining the growing American family within months of each other. And the air across the country was electric with possibility, with the feeling that anything could be built, anything could be achieved, anything could be forged from the raw materials of will and ingenuity and hard work. And at the United States Mint, That same energy was present, that same sense of purpose, as craftsmen and engravers and die makers went about the serious business of producing the coinage of a nation that was growing faster than anyone could quite keep track of. The 1889 gold dollar was struck during this remarkable period, and it carried with it all the weight and significance of its era. A tiny golden artifact of a moment in time when America was becoming something new, something powerful, something destined for greatness. The coin itself was produced in the Type 3 design, that elegant and refined format featuring the small Indian princess head that had graced the gold dollar since 1856. Her feathered headdress a symbol of the American spirit, her expression serene and timeless, surrounded by the 13 stars of the original colonies and anchored by the date 1889 at the base of the obverse. The reverse, as always, carried the classic laurel wreath encircling the words $1, a declaration of denomination that today reads almost like a beautiful joke, because $1 is about as far from $365 million as the Earth is from the stars. But here is what makes the 1889 gold dollar so particularly special, so uniquely positioned in the hierarchy of American rare coins. And this is the part that even many experienced collectors do not fully appreciate until they sit down and really study the numbers. By 1889, the gold dollar program was in its absolute final years. The denomination had been struggling for relevance for decades. It was too small, too easily lost, too impractical in a world that was rapidly modernizing and demanding coinage that could keep pace with the scale of a booming industrial economy. The Mint knew it, Congress knew it, the merchants and bankers knew it, and so the production of gold dollars in 1889 reflected that reality, with mintage figures that were not just low but almost shockingly, almost impossibly low when you consider that these coins were supposed to serve as actual circulating currency for an entire nation. And because so few were made, and because those that did enter circulation were subject to all the hazards of everyday use, scratching and rubbing and wearing against the surfaces of countless pockets and purses and cash drawers over the decades, the number of 1889 gold dollars that survived in high grades, in the kind of pristine, lustrous, sharply struck condition that modern collectors demand, is vanishingly, heartbreakingly small. We are talking about a population of surviving high-grade examples so limited that when one comes to market, it is treated as a genuine event, a moment that the numismatic community circles on its calendar and watches with the kind of focused, breathless attention that most people reserve for championship sporting events or historic elections. The finest known examples of the 1889 gold dollar are coins of almost supernatural beauty, because when you take a perfectly struck gold coin and preserve it for over a century without allowing it to be touched or circulated or damaged, what you end up with is something that seems to glow from within, a warm, rich, honeyed golden luster that catches the light and throws it back in ways that seem almost alive, almost as if the coin is breathing, as if it carries within its metal the warmth of the hands that made it more than 130 years ago. Numismatists who have been fortunate enough to examine these finest known pieces describe the experience in almost poetic terms, talking about the depth of the fields, the crispness of the devices, the way the Indian princess seems to emerge from the surface of the coin with a three-dimensional presence that photographs simply cannot capture. And it is that indescribable physical reality of the coin, that tactile and visual experience that no digital image can replicate, that drives collectors to pursue these pieces with such extraordinary passion and commitment. Now, let us talk about the auction history, because this is where the story of the 1889 gold dollar gets genuinely cinematic, genuinely thrilling in the way that only real events with real stakes and real human emotion can be. When a top-quality example of this coin comes to auction, what follows is a battle of wills and resources that can last for agonizing minutes as bidders push the price higher and higher, each increment representing not just money but desire, not just wealth but the deep human need to possess something irreplaceable, something that cannot be recreated, something that exists in its current form in only the most limited numbers anywhere on Earth. The phone bidders, the room bidders, the online bidders, all of them locked in a contest that the auctioneer orchestrates with the skill of a conductor leading an orchestra through its most dramatic movement. And when it ends, when the hammer comes down, the price that is revealed is the kind of number that makes headlines, that gets repeated in collector circles for years, that becomes part of the legend of the coin itself. And the legend of the 1889 gold dollar is one that has been growing for generations, fed by stories of coins discovered in unexpected places, in the estates of families who had no idea what they possessed, in old coin collections purchased for a few dollars at garage sales, in safe deposit boxes opened after decades of neglect, In the hands of people who brought their grandfather's old coins to an appraiser expecting nothing and walked away with their lives completely transformed. Because that is the magic of rare coins. That is the thing that makes this world so endlessly compelling. The fact that these treasures are out there, scattered across the country and the world, hiding in plain sight, waiting to be recognized, waiting to be found, waiting to change someone's life in a single extraordinary moment of discovery. Think about what it would feel like to reach into a drawer, to pull out a small golden coin that has been sitting there for years, to take it to an expert, and to hear the words that this coin, this tiny, beautiful, ancient piece of American history, is worth $365 million. Think about that moment. That pause before the number fully registers. That breath you forget to take. That feeling of the floor shifting beneath your feet as reality restructures itself around a new and unimaginable possibility. That is what rare coins can do, that is the power they carry, and that is exactly why the 1889 $1 gold coin is not just a piece of currency but a piece of human drama. A golden thread connecting the ambitions of 1889 America to the passions of collectors living and breathing today. And now, as extraordinary as everything you have just heard is, as breathtaking as $365 million sounds, I need you to hold on, I need you to stay right here, because what is coming next is the coin that collectors call the grand finale. The coin that sits at the very top of this golden hierarchy. The coin whose story is so rich, so dramatic, so loaded with history and rarity and staggering value that it makes everything before it feel like the opening act of the greatest show you have ever seen. So do not move, do not look away, because the most shocking, most valuable, most extraordinary coin in today's video is coming right now, and it is going to leave you absolutely breathless. Next, 1879 $1 gold coin. And we have arrived, we have finally reached the moment that this entire video has been building toward, the grand finale, the coin that sits at the absolute summit of everything we have explored today, the coin that makes seasoned collectors lose sleep at night, the coin that has been whispered about in auction houses and numismatic conventions and private collector circles for generations, the 1879 $1 gold coin, a piece so extraordinary, so wrapped in layers of history and rarity and pure golden magnificence, that its estimated collector value stands at a number that will genuinely stop your heart, because this breathtaking artifact of American history has been valued at $371 million. $371 million. For a coin. A single, small, golden $1 coin struck in the year 1879. A coin that was originally intended to pass through ordinary hands in ordinary transactions. A coin that most people of its era would have spent without a second thought. And yet here we stand today, more than a century and a half later, staring at a number so vast, so incomprehensible, so utterly removed from the original face value of $1, that the mind genuinely struggles to process the distance between those two realities. And this is not just a coin with a big number attached to it. This is a story, a living, breathing, pulse-pounding story of history and artistry and survival and desire, and by the time we reach the end of the script, you are going to understand exactly why the 1879 gold dollar is not just the most valuable coin in today's video but one of the most remarkable artifacts that American civilization has ever produced. So let us go back, let us travel all the way back to 1879, and let us truly feel what that year was, because context is everything when it comes to understanding why certain coins become legends while others fade into obscurity. The year 1879 was a year of enormous significance in American history. A year sitting right at the heart of the Gilded Age, that extraordinary period of rapid industrialization and staggering wealth creation and breathtaking inequality that defined post-Civil War America and set the stage for the modern nation we know today. The Transcontinental Railroad had already been completed a decade earlier, and its iron arteries were pumping life and commerce and ambition into every corner of the continent, connecting cities and towns and mining camps that had previously existed in virtual isolation from the broader American economy. The great silver and gold mining booms of the West were reshaping the landscape of both the land and the financial system, and the United States Mint was working at a feverish pace to process the precious metals being pulled from the earth and transform them into the coinage that a growing, hungry, restless nation demanded. It was in this atmosphere of energy and transformation and ambition that the 1879 gold dollar was struck, and the circumstances of its production were, even by the standards of a denomination already known for low mintage numbers, extraordinarily unusual. By 1879, the writing was on the wall for the gold dollar program. The denomination had been struggling for years. It was too small for practical use, too easily lost, too inconvenient in a world that was moving toward larger and more practical denominations, and the mint had been steadily reducing production in response to declining demand. But 1879 brought something even more specific, even more dramatic to the story of this coin, because the mintage figures for the 1879 gold dollar were not just low in the way that late-era gold dollars tended to be low, they were low in a way that suggested something almost intentional, almost deliberate, as if the coins being struck were not meant for general circulation at all but were instead being produced for a very specific and very limited audience of collectors and connoisseurs who understood even then that they were witnessing the twilight of a great numismatic era. And that suspicion, that sense that the 1879 gold dollar was struck with a kind of awareness of its own historical significance, gives the coin an additional layer of meaning, an additional dimension of emotional weight that goes beyond mere rarity and connects to something deeper, something almost philosophical about the nature of value and preservation and the human desire to hold onto beautiful things as time marches relentlessly forward. The physical coin itself is a masterpiece of 19th-century American craftsmanship, the Type 3 design at its absolute finest, the Indian princess rendered with extraordinary delicacy and precision, her feathered headdress flowing with a grace that seems almost impossible given the tiny scale of the coin's surface, the 13 stars perfectly spaced and sharply struck, the date 1879 crisp and clear at the base of the obverse, and on the reverse the classic wreath encircling $1. With an elegance and authority that speaks to the seriousness with which the mint approached even its smallest denominations. But it is the gold itself that truly makes these coins transcendent, because the warm, rich 22-karat gold from which these coins were struck has a color and a quality that seems almost organic, almost alive, a depth of tone that changes subtly depending on the angle of the light and the condition of the surface, and in a perfectly preserved example of the 1879 gold dollar, that golden surface is a landscape of breathtaking beauty, with luster that rolls across the fields like liquid, sunlight and devices that emerge from the surface with a three-dimensional presence that seems to defy the physical limitations of the striking process. The finest known examples of the 1879 gold dollar are among the most visually spectacular coins in all of American numismatics, and the numismatists and collectors who have been fortunate enough to examine them speak about the experience with a reverence and an emotion that tells you everything you need to know about what these coins represent to the people who love them most. Now, the auction history surrounding the 1879 gold dollar is the stuff of genuine legend, and I want you to picture the scene because this is cinema, this is drama, this is the kind of human story that deserves to be told on the biggest possible stage. Imagine a great auction house, its rooms filled with the quiet electricity of anticipation, collectors and dealers and investors from around the world gathered together in the shared understanding that something extraordinary is about to happen. The lot comes up, the auctioneer begins, and what follows is a bidding war of such intensity, such passion, such raw human desire, that the room seems to hold its collective breath between each increment, each new bid a declaration not just of financial capacity but of love, of obsession, of the deep and unshakable conviction that this coin, this particular piece of golden history, is worth whatever it takes to possess it. The numbers climb, each one more shocking than the last, and when the hammer finally falls and the price is announced, the silence that follows is the silence of people processing something they have never quite experienced before. The silence of a room full of experts confronting a number that exceeds even their most optimistic expectations. And then the applause, because in the world of rare coins, a great sale is celebrated. It is understood as a validation of everything the community believes about the importance and the value and the irreplaceable significance of these tiny golden artifacts. But here is the thing that I want you to carry with you as we approach the end of this video. Here is the thought that I want to plant in your mind and leave there, growing quietly in the background of your everyday life. The 1879 gold dollar, this $371 million treasure, this pinnacle of American numismatic history, exists somewhere in the world right now. It is a physical object, a real and tangible thing, sitting somewhere in a collection or a vault or a safe or perhaps, just perhaps, in a drawer or a box or an old leather pouch that nobody has opened in decades. There are 1879 gold dollars that have not yet been formally catalogued, not yet been examined by experts, not yet been understood for what they truly are, and somewhere among those undiscovered coins there may be examples of extraordinary quality. Coins in conditions that would make the numismatic world erupt with excitement, coins that could rewrite the record books and remind every person on Earth that history has a habit of hiding its most extraordinary treasures in the most ordinary places. This coin, right now, could be sitting in your grandmother's jewelry box. Could be mixed in with a jar of old coins that your grandfather kept on his dresser for 40 years. It could be in an estate sale box that someone bought for $10 at a local auction, not knowing, not even suspecting, that buried among the pennies and nickels was a small golden coin that was worth more than most people will earn in 1,000 lifetimes. And that possibility, that electric, heart-stopping, life-changing possibility, is what makes the world of rare coins the most thrilling, most addictive, most endlessly fascinating pursuit that any human being can engage in. The 1879 $1 gold coin is not just a coin. It is a dream. It is a reminder that history is always closer than we think, that the past is never truly buried, that value and beauty and significance have a way of surviving everything that time throws at them, emerging intact and radiant and more precious than ever from the long dark centuries of waiting to be found, to be recognized, to be understood for exactly what they are. $371 million. Remember that number. And remember, the next time you hold an old coin in your hand, that you might be holding a miracle.